What's up, folks? Welcome back to All in Texas Football, and welcome back to Coffee and Football. That's right. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow Lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Vogel, and the estimable Jerry Hamilton. Thank you guys for joining us, no matter where you're joining us from in Longhorn Nation. We appreciate it. We're going to have a good time this morning because we're talking about Sark's media availability. Yesterday, he had a lot to say. I think he spoke for almost 30 minutes to the media. We'll talk about all of his comments. We'll get your questions and comments. We'll address those as well. You know how it works. Super chats jump to the front of the line so you can interrupt the show at any time, talk about whatever you want to, drive the show in any direction you want to as well. We'll also talk recruiting, big recruiting weekend coming up. We'll have a lot of prospects on campus. We'll talk about that. And also we'll get into some of the other spring football news, notes, and nuggets. I know a lot of folks want to talk baseball, of course. They'll talk some basketball, whatever you want to throw out there. We're game. So let's dive into it. Good morning, gentlemen. First of all, I appreciate the Coffee and Football folks letting us mix it up a little bit. Just a little bit of a change up. Bobby's got some stuff going on. Bobby will be back. No worries at all. But he asked us to sit in, so we're going to change it up a little bit. So thank you guys for having us. Let's jump right into it. Sark had his media availability yesterday. CJ, you were there. So boots on the ground. So we'll get your thoughts. But Jerry, of all the things that Sark brought up yesterday, and he talked about a lot of different things, including the newest member of the Sarkisian family, Amias. Did I get it right? Amias. Okay, Chris, we know he didn't pick that name, right, Jerry? He didn't pick that name.
No. How many times has the man ever picked the name of the kid?
I picked my name. I picked it. Yeah, literally, my wife wanted to get out of that. They wouldn't let us out until we picked the name. They were putting pressure on us, and she was not in the mood to be messed with. She was like, "You pick a name, and I don't want to deal with it." So I just picked the name. Boom, and that was it. But it was out of pressure though. I was just in a clutch situation. I had to show up like Kobe in the clutch.
CJ, are you going to pick the name, or are you going to what?
That's not for me. No. Look, my name is CJ. I have no knowledge of names here.
That's great.
Yeah, so I thought for Sark, the biggest thing. Look, player development, Rod. Yep. Developing guys. To me, that's what the spring is really about. For me, it's player development and where they're at in this development process and getting these new coaches accustomed to the program and to this team, to this culture, to this locker room. And look, there's development on the player side. There's development on the coach's side. That's what spring football is all about, because you're going to have coaching changes every year. But I'm a huge player development guy, whether that's football, basketball, whatever. And to me, that's really what the spring is all about. Yes, the position battles. We got some news there, CJ. I'll let you hit on Nick Brooks. We've been saying he's doing really well, and there's even more to that now. There's a little bit of news on the injury front with Zena Umeozulu. But it's player development in the spring. This is what this is all about.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny hearing Sark talk about these battles, right? And which positions are standing out right now. Cornerback to him looks like the best position group on the roster. That was great to hear, because you could probably go 5 or 6 deep at that position saying, okay, we've heard positives about each guy in that room this spring, but also at right tackle, Jerry, because he threw Nick Brooks into that group. And so far we had heard a lot of positives about him at left tackle. To know that Andre Kojo are pushing Brandon Baker, that's a great positive. So it's going to continue. We're kind of at that halftime of spring football at the moment. You got 8 practices left, 7 true practices, and then you got your fan fest on day 15, April 26th. So you're at your halftime. What more can you learn? What more can you get out of each position group? That's going to be exciting to hear, and hopefully we'll get to hear from Sark by the end of spring. Also, Parth, thank you very much for the super chat.
Yep. Hey, Rod, let's talk a little bit more about corners, because look, so essentially, somebody said Mark Orfe got a shout out. The corner position got a shout out from Sark. So we're talking about Manny Muhammad, and we're talking about Jalen Gilbo. We're talking about Kobe Black. We're talking about Cade Phillips. We're talking about Warren Roberson, Santana Wilson, right? I mean, Caleb Chester, the other freshman. A lot of guys at corner, and that's what we were kind of going into the spring wondering about. Could Jalen Gilbo take a corner spot by storm like Jahdae Barron did last year, right? And then what would that do to the defensive back room as a whole, that versatility? Then at nickel, obviously, Wardell Mack. We hear Grayson Littleton's getting some second-team reps there as well. But that corner spot, Rod, you know, a lot of guys there, but not necessarily a lot of guys that people have seen on the field at DKR yet.
Yeah, a lot of unproven guys. That's why, you know, I'm glad a guy that is proven, Coach Akina, is now kind of overseeing that entire secondary. I thought it was interesting that he talks about the body types, how basically it's the best, you say the best looking position on the team. If you just look at all the different body types, because I think now they're getting the type of athletes they want. The length, number one, he talked about that as well, and the speed, which is why he brought up special teams. He essentially said these should be some of our stars on special teams. Even paraphrasing, but he said that based on just the raw materials, the length and the speed and the overall body types. I thought that was interesting. And I like to try to decipher what Sark is talking about. And he brought up how they want to play more aggressive. That's basically saying they want to play more man-to-man. I mean, the only play more aggressive coverage is to play more man-to-man, play stickier coverage, and maybe even more press. But I think that's what he's talking about when he's talking about the type of athletes that they're recruiting now. And he also brought up, once again, versatility. I think this defense is going through phases, and maybe they are constructing it, you know, as they're adapting to the ecosystems they're in, or maybe they had a grand plan and a vision for it. And each year they're adding something. Think about it. First, it was the run defense. That's the staple. Got to have a good run defense. Took them a couple of years. Boom, they got it. And then it was, all right, you know what? We need to try to get pressure. He's like, man, we got to get pressure. And then converting that pressure into splash plays and sacks. Did that last year. And now the coverage is catching up. I think the next phase for them is more man coverage. And then the next phase for that is full-on multiplicity. He brought up guys that are cross-training. Of course, Gilbo is the latest example in the secondary, but he brought up different guys, even Trey Moore talking about, and we'll get to that cut too, or at least that quote of him talking about him playing 3 different positions. I think ultimately he brought up Anthony Hill and his versatility. Ultimately, at every level of the defense, you want a movable chess piece, someone that makes you multiple. He brought up how hard it is for offenses to identify that guy and make you mad. I think that's after they get to man coverage, that's going to be the next step. Watch how many guys they start cross-training. Look at these athletes they're recruiting, guys like Jonah Williams. Look at these big jumbo athletes they're recruiting at linebacker lately, right? Let's let Taven Epps, that freak, right? Look at the guy talking, oh, man, he could be an edge, man, could be a linebacker. He's going to be both. You know what I mean? Like, those are the kind of guys they're recruiting. And I think ultimately that's going to be the final phase potentially of the PK defense to make it the most formidable defense potentially in the country.
Yeah, I think, look, one of the things talking about that with Trey Moore playing multiple positions, I think linebacker, and again, I've said this before, it has nothing to do with the guys that graduate. It's a natural maturation process of a program in recruiting. I think this is going to be the best linebacker group we've seen at Texas in years, guys. And that is SEC size with a lot of versatility, Rod. I mean, you have a number of guys that can play a number of different spots. And I think a young guy, Bo Barnes, is going to be just like that. I've heard he's having a good spring, but look, the older guys are going to get most of the run here with that. But I mean, you start throwing in Trey Moore, Brad Spence, guys who can do multiple things. Anthony Hill can do multiple things. LaFau's a middle backer, right? Anthony Smith has some versatility because he can play in space as well. But this linebacker room has more SEC size, as you would call it, quote, air quotes, but also has more versatility than we've seen. And the more versatility you've seen, the more you can confuse an offense, Rod, the better defense you can become.
Yep.
Yeah. Sark mentioned that yesterday when speaking about Trey Moore. And, you know, that's one of the things that we've talked about, his move to linebacker, you know, getting reps back there at the middle linebacker position, off the ball, away from the edge, away from that opposite spot of Colin Simmons. But also, Sark also mentioned the identification issues of the offensive line and guys in pass protection, knowing that Trey Moore has pretty good ability to get to the quarterback, right? We saw that in the second half of the season last year when his stats really blew up, and you start looking at him as a guy that was very disruptive opposite of Colin Simmons. To put him next to Anthony Hill on pass rushing downs, to add a Colin Simmons and perhaps an Ethan Burke or Colton Bosick or a Zena or a Lance Jackson and go down that line, well, now you got your entire offensive line, if you're trying to pass protect for your quarterback, staring around saying, ooh, we got a lot of guys that we got to be aware of. You know, there's a lot of twists, games, and stunts that they could bring And that's not going to be easy for anybody. So to hear that that's already been something that this offense has been maybe not struggling with, but made aware of, is where is number 8 on the field at all times.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that's going to remain a big point of emphasis for teams once Texas gets into SEC play. And there's some tape of Trey Moore everywhere on that front 7.
Yeah, no, I liked it. That's what I wanted to hear. And thank you, CJ. I think, didn't you ask the question, CJ? Yeah. I was like, I was thankful because we were talking about what do you want, to start to address. That was the first thing. I was like, man, give me the Trey Moore plan. All right, break it down for me. Sell it to me. Make me optimistic about it. I feel real good about it now, honestly. Now I feel like they're trying to weaponize Trey Moore, not just trying to cross-train them. So I think that's cool. All right, we'll thank our first sponsor of the morning, and then we'll get to your questions and your super chats. Thank you to our friend and our partner, Adam Loy. We'd like to thank Loy and the Loy Law Firm for their sponsorship of ON Texas football. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, from an 18-wheeler to an ATV, and you think you might be due compensation, then reach out to Adam Loy at the Loy Law Firm. At theloylawfirm.com. Adam and his group will give you a free, no strings attached consultation. Again, that's loylawfirm.com, and give Adam Loy and his team a shout if you believe you're due compensation from a car wreck or an accident of any kind. And thank you very much to Adam Loy and the Loy Law Firm for sponsoring Coffee and Football. We appreciate it.
I predict a lot of Sam Houston State players are going to call Adam Loy after September 20th in Austin. The university's getting all the money for the trip, man. I mean, the Sam Houston State guys are the ones that are going to get their helmets knocked off.
See, Jerry's already up early starting. There you go. It don't take him long. It don't take him long at all. Jack, thank you very much for the super chat. Whoa, Jack, that is very kind of. You know what, Jack? That deserves. I got to put my.
You got to bring the helmet on Coffee. This is the first Coffee football helmet.
There you go. Got to put that on. I'm gonna strap it up for you too, Jack. Before I read your question there. There you go. Here you go. GM to Rod, Jerry, and CJ. He said, good morning, assuming CJ Baxter is ready to go and all the other backs are living up to promise, who do you think will be the best receiving back and the best running back in pass pro? Thank you very much, Jack. Really appreciate the super chat. Very kind of you. I'm going to keep it on for a little while the guys answer your question.
Well, I'll let CJ address best receiving running back. But the best running back in pass pro is CJ Baxter if he's healthy. That's why he made such a move early on and immediately at Texas. And I saw that in high school. That dude was just really well advanced in all aspects of being a complete running back and understanding of the game, and just picking things up. He's a guy that came in and quickly could make all the same calls the offensive line did. So that's CJ Baxter in pass pro. He's just one of the best guys. That's one of the reasons Nick Saban was so high on him before the season at the SEC Media Days.
Yeah, for running back out of the backfield and passing game, for me, it's Christian Clark, and it was very clear in his film that it just came natural to him, right? And unfortunately, receiving is kind of how he got hurt in the fall last year, going up for a pass on a swing route. That's where the injury occurred originally, but that shows a little bit of how much the staff trusts him in the passing game. So I'm a big fan of his. Of course, Trey Wisner is going to always be a part of the passing game. We saw him at times, coming down with some screens, some slants, some Texas routes last year as well. So there's going to be plenty of options right now. And, we've talked about it a little bit, Rod, on the Longhorn live streams at the Winning Drive. Texas has plenty of bodies right now in the receiving room. They all come with different shapes, different strengths. It's going to be interesting to see who becomes the true short yardage guy, who becomes the third down guy, who becomes, when Texas needs a route in 21 personnel, who's in the backfield, who's the motion guy. Because for a lot of last year, Texas worked out with about 2.5 or 3 true running backs. You could stretch that up to about 3.5 if you included Ryan Niblett getting some run as well and some 31 personnel packages. But right now, you're looking at 5 or 6 true legit guys that could give you a snap at any moment during the season. And that's really encouraging considering where this room was last year and how that kind of hindered the offense in its totality.
Yeah. I like Trey Wisner in the passing game, honestly, as a as a receiving back, especially in Sark's offense. A lot of screen game, a lot of those swing routes, flare routes to the running back. I don't know if I see him running some of the downfield routes that Jaden Blue did. He likes the wheel route. I mean, he's been running that wheel even with Bijan back in the day, but it was more effective with Jaden Blue than it was with Bijan. Bijan rarely caught those wheel routes out of the backfield. So I don't think Trey Wisner will be a downfield threat like Jaden Blue was in the passing game, but I like him for some of the behind the line of scrimmage passing, the extended handoffs, essentially, that Sark has in his offense. And pass pro, it should be CJ Baxter when it's all said and done. He should be your best. I mean, just his frame. I mean, I've been next to this dude. It looks like a linebacker. I mean, he's huge. And he was a baby then. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying Chris McDonald said something funny. Bobby saw a list of reads today and said nope. Hey, Rod, let's talk about this real quick. Tony Hills is going to be joining us Hump Day with Hills. But, Rod, you got to keep the helmet on for Tony, at least on the intro. See if he still has one hanging around he can put on. I doubt it. But, look, one of the things that we talked about, I think it was yesterday on Coffee and Football, was, the running backs are still going to be a part of the passing game. But within Arch is going to cause some changes within Sark's scheme. So I just wonder if some of these distributions are going to be a little different with Arch at quarterback and wanting to throw the ball down the field, wanting to stretch the ball, bringing in back shoulder balls outside the numbers into the offense. Obviously, running backs catching the ball are going to be a part of the offense, right? Mm-hmm. But will they have as many targets? It's kind of what I wonder about. Because Sark within his scheme is there's going to be changes with Arch Manning at quarterback. And so I just kind of wonder if we're going to see the same distribution of targets next season. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how teams play Texas.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think you're going to get a higher deep ball rate, right? What was Arch last year? 21% or something like that. CJ Quinn is usually hovering around 12, 13%. So you'll get a higher deep ball rate. And I'm with you. Quinn was great at those, really putting those swing routes. We talked about those swing routes, those quick hitters to running to Jaden Blue out in the flats. He'd put it around the money where Jaden Blue could almost get it in stride and then be able to make one guy miss and get yards. I don't know if that's going to be a strength of Arch's early on. That may be something that was one of Quinn's natural strength of being accurate in that 10 yards and under, window. I think for Arch, he's going to be more accurate at some of the vertical shots downfield. So I agree with you about, the back shoulder fade coming back. I think the comeback is the least popular route in Sark's offense, just a straight up comeback. They don't run it. They don't run a lot of comeback routes. You go look at the comeback rate of guys like Helm and Golden and Bond, very low. You're talking about maybe, 2 to 3% or less. Yeah. I think that's a route that you could get coming back with an Arch who's mobile, and a guy who you may get back to some old school traditional play action, not under center, maybe sometimes under center every now and then, but maybe from a pistol formation and get a downhill running element to your play action and get isolated on the outside. The form of that for Quinn was the curl route. Go look at how successful Texas was running deep curl routes down the field. That was kind of their version of just running a comeback, being able to engineer a one-on-one matchup and then still be able to force the defense to respect the verticality of that route. That's what you're doing with a comeback and with a deep curl route. And I think the comeback may come back, if you will, in Sark's offense with a guy like Arch.
Really, the only time you saw a comeback was in to the short corner in the red zone, right? Within the 5-yard window. Texas would roll out at times. You saw it to Matthew Golden, saw it to Isaiah Bond last year, plenty. It's going to be interesting, Rod. I like what you said about the deep curl, because remember when Malik Murphy came in against Kansas State, how did they really get him going? His first 3 throws were all deep curls, about 12 to 15 yards, and you saw the offense get going, right? And with Arch specifically, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they use his arm strength, right? You see arm strength, you hear arm strength, and you think how far you can throw a football. For me, it's how fast, how quickly does that ball zip off your hand? Those comebacks, those curls, I think that's going to fit well with his strength. So I think it'll be a good fit, and it'll be interesting to see what else evolves in this offense, because we all think they're going to throw the ball deep. Well, what other routes do we see kind of step up and fit that window or that volume circle of Sarkisian's go-to routes.
That's a good point. Yeah, because I think it does change. I mean, that's a great. I was actually doing I went and looked at some of the most popular routes, like just for the top receivers for Texas last season, and I was a little surprised. It was more for guys like Isaiah Bond and for Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden's top route was the curl route. He ran it, and 18% of his routes were curl routes. Out route 15%. Screen was 13%. And then an in route, that was 10.6%. So those are only routes that ended up in double-digit rates for him. Isaiah Bond was 21% curl routes, 15% go routes, 13% screens, and like a 13% out rate. And then Gunnar Helm, 28% crossing routes. Remember those crossing routes he would run? And run a 23% of out routes and basically 12% curl and screen rate for him. So all the guys, they like curl routes, out routes, and screens. That's what they all had in common for their kind of top routes. I think those were just kind of staples in Sark's offense with this group, but I think that could always change depending on the quarterback, depending on the strength of the wide receivers in the passing game. All right, we're going to get Tony Hills on. I believe Hump Day with Hills is going to start whenever he jumps on. Just throw him on. I want to ask him about the offensive line. I can't wait to ask him about
let's do it. Here he is.
Let's do it.
What's up? Hey, Tony, where's your helmet, man?
Hey, man, listen, man, y'all supposed to give out memos around here, man. RB, you over here killing it with the throwback retro helmet, bro, with the clear visor. You can still see that Kool-Aid smile through that visor, big dog.
It ain't that old.
Hey, man, absolutely. It's old, but it ain't ancient. You feel me? It ain't no relic.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it.
Now we got a nice super chat from Jack. Thank you very much, Jack. Appreciate that. Every time we get a big super chat, I gotta throw the helmet on to you know how that goes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. We were just talking about the offensive line. Sark remarked that the offensive line is coming together. They got 4 new starters, and that DJ Campbell looks like the best version of himself. When you're I'm sure you have experience in with maybe an inexperienced offensive line. What is going to be the key for them this spring with so many new faces and so many new players now being added to the mix in a group that has to work as a unit more so than any other on the field?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Great question, man. First and foremost, man, shout out to everybody that's watching, man. Longhorn Nation, love you guys, man. I see we got CJ on here. Thank you for blessing us with your presence, because you are the premier person that has the greatest tilt in hats that I've ever seen, bro. Like, I see baseball players do this thing often. I don't even think you do that. I think you just wake up, put a new hat on, and it just curves to the coolness of your head, bro. So shout out to you, CJ. So hey, look, this is what I believe. That's a two-part question, Rod, and here's why. When you're talking about what the offensive line has to do on the field, it's just consistency. It's reps. It's understanding who my guy is and who I'm playing next to, what type of player this individual is, right? So if I'm DJ and I'm playing next to Baker, and I know he's an athletic guy, I know there's some certain risks that I can take because I know he has the ability to cover. He has the foot speed to recover in certain things when it comes to twist stunts and things like that. So I can take a little bit more risk. I can be a little bit more aggressive on my pass pro set, right? I can, just go out there and kind of play my game a little wild, man, but not too crazy, as opposed to somebody to where they're more of a slow-footed type of tackle. This is what I'll say too, and I know people are going to look at me like I'm crazy, but hear what I'm saying. When it comes to the athleticism of the 2 tackles that Texas has now, they are more athletic than the tackles before. And I know people are going to look at me and say, listen, man, this dude just won the best offensive line in the country. I get that. I understand that. But understand what type of player Kevin is. He's a technician, right? Does he have athleticism? Absolutely. Can he get up and climb to the next level? Absolutely. Does he have some explosiveness? Absolutely. But we're talking about a 6'7", 320-pound guy that still dunks basketballs. When we're talking about pure athleticism, you're going to see in Sark's offense this year, there's going to be a lot of athletic calls with these tackles. right? So there's consistency and there's continuity that has to happen. That's going to come from reps. That's on the field. These guys got to get reps and they got to identify what type of line they are. That's just going to come from them getting out there in the practice. Here's the second part of this. You got to hang out off the field. You got to hang out. You have to understand these guys inside and out. I got to know your likes, your dislikes, your strengths, your values, everything. This is when you're playing offensive line. This ain't just line up on the side, put your foot back, shake some dude, throw your hand up and go out there and moss people. No, man. This is we all collectively have to be one mind, right? That's a lot of film study. That's a lot of, Thursday night dinners with the offensive line talking about looks. We have to become a family, right? And that's what that was instilled in me when I was at Texas. This is what Jonathan Scott and the Casey Studders and the center lines, this is what we did. We were together. We hung out together. We ride together. We die together. Bad boys for life. That is exactly how they are going to have to be in order for them to make up, right? The what they lack in experience, they're going to have to gain in that family-oriented environment. And then they're just going to have to get the reps. That's just how it is.
All right, Tony. Well, that was a terrible answer. Nobody learned anything at all. So I'm going to give you another chance at this here. I'm going to give you another chance.
Absolutely.
Right, so one of the things that Sark said yesterday that, we had been saying Nick Brooks was looking really good.
Yeah.
Okay, but Sark added another piece to that yesterday. Not only is he the backup running number 2 at left tackle, he's also competing at right tackle.
Yeah.
So without obviously you're not seeing the practices, but you've watched Nick Brooks, so you kind of know what he's like. But how impressive is that from a mental standpoint that an early enrollee is not only started out at the number 2 left tackle spot, but is now in the competition at right tackle? I mean, I know it may be a tough question since you're not seeing the practice, but just from a mental standpoint, that seems to me this guy can compartmentalize and he can take in a lot of information outside the frame and everything we've seen from him.
Yeah, I think that goes towards his study habits. You know what I mean? And like you said, I'm not there to be able to watch the practices. I will be though. I'm looking to come down there in a couple of weeks because I definitely want to see these guys in action. But just from a mental standpoint, being able not only to flip the plays in your mind, but also being able to flip your body mechanics. And I don't think people know how hard that actually is, right? If you're a right-handed shooter, go play a pickup basketball game for 2 hours and just shoot with your left hand. Let me know how you do, right? So that's the reality of what's going on. And look, when we say compete, I mean, everybody is competing, right? Although we have guys penciled in as starters, like, look, man, I've been in this game far too long. There was a guy that was penciled in and they paid him a lot of money and he got his spot taken by Russell Wilson, right? So like penciled in doesn't mean anything. In order for you to solidify your spot, you have to gain the trust of not only your teammates, but of your coaches. And you have to go out there and put it on the field every single day. So in that regards, everybody's spot is up. But what I will say about somebody like Nick Brooks is that if he's putting in that type of work, then that shows you where his mentality is as it pertains to what he wants to get accomplished at Texas. If he sees himself as a starter, it's showing because he's putting in that type of work and he's getting that type of accolades from the coach. But again, I got to get out here and see these guys, and I'm excited to do it, man. I will be on the 40 acres really soon. And when I come down there, Jerry, I'm staying at your house because hotel prices is too high. I don't care if I made money. Money don't matter.
I'll give you my Marriott card. You can use some points or something.
All right, that's cool.
Hey, Tony, I'm going to make you proud right now. Apparently, Nick Brooks is the second best singer on the team to Ryan Niblett. How proud does that make you that an offensive lineman may be the second best singer on the team, man? That's got to make you proud on some level. You probably
back in my day, Jerry, I used to blow a little tune myself, baby, so we're going to have a sing-off, you know what I'm saying? Tell Nick Brooks I challenge him to a sing-off, you know what I mean? Maybe we could do it on the stream, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's gonna be a gospel song though, Jerry. We got to keep it clean. We can't be talking about balls and butt cracks like you like to talk about with all them reads you be doing.
You got the Mando read at the end of this interview.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Tony, I got one for you. We're 7 practices into spring ball. We heard Sarkisian speak yesterday about the competition, and kind of the smack talk between Arch and Anthony Hill. You get Colin Simmons in the mix. In the trenches, what is that like? Because you're going up against the guys every single day, basically, the same 2 or 3. You don't get to see cornerback number 6 if you're a wide receiver 1 in that sense, right? What is that like? How heated does that get? And, what's the competition? How does that drive each practice? If you have a good day one day and a bad day the next, how do you get back on the horse and get back up to facing those guys each day?
Yeah, that's a great question, CJ. So there's an old proverb that says, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another, right? And so at the end of the day, what's happening is these guys are seeing where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and they're playing against the best. Listen, when you're talking about the Trey Moores, the Colin Simmons, right? These guys, like, it's one of those things to where that if you're able to put together some dominant practices against this defense, then moving into the season, you're going to be perfectly fine. As it pertains to me, I wasn't a huge trash talk guy. I was more of a get my job done type of guy, see where I messed up at. Now, this is when I did start talking trash. If you talk to me too much and I told you to shut up and you kept going, now I'm not going to stop. Now I'm about to click out, right? And if I get to that point, it ain't no coming back. So that's why I didn't do it personally. But there are some guys, man, that play that trash talk game. It works for them. It gets them going. It's a competition type of thing, right? But at the end of the day, if you're not doing anything out there, you can talk all the trash you want to, bro. If you trash, you trash. And the big eye in the sky don't lie. See, Rod, no. Now, you can talk all you want to talk, but if I'm out here whooping your butt, you might want to be quiet and go back into the practice room and figure out what you need to do to get better.
Yeah. Now all that trash talk goes to the side once you do it, once you put it on them a couple of times.
I got a quick story, Ross. So look, my junior year, we played Texas Tech in Lubbock, right? And I forgot the defensive end name, but I'm telling you, man, this dude ran his mouth for like 2.5 quarters. Because you know how it go when we play Lubbock, man. Lubbock and Oklahoma State, bro. Them two teams at their place was crazy. But, they up by like 7 or something. This guy's going nuts, bro. And I literally looked at the ref and said, hey, if this dude don't shut up, I'm going to F him up all game. I promise you. Bro, I got a personal foul penalty. I just went nuts, bro. So I realized, like, okay, something is intrinsically wrong with me, bro. If I'm like, so I don't do the trash talk, bro. Like, look, hey, man, let's just compete. Let's just compete, shake hands, and go on about our business.
Yeah, you zoned out on him, man. You zoned out.
Bro, I'm telling you. I know you had them games, Rod, where you like, bro, you know what? Because, Rod, listen, it's the ones that's always smiling you got to watch out for, Rod.
Hey, I had my own field persona, man. I had Black Caesar out there. You didn't want him to meet your mama. He was disrespectful. That dude, he was a savage, man. Right? Black Caesar was a savage.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely.
I want to see if you guys agree. I want to see if y'all will agree on this question. Favorite road place to play at, least favorite place to play at when y'all are
Okay. I'll say this. I don't know if I can say a favorite because it's been a lot of places, but I can say one of the most enjoyable games that I've played in was the game in Nebraska. Like, last second field goal, playing against Jay Moore and Carricker and Ndamukong Suh and all these first round picks at their stadium, and we win. And after we win and we're walking into the locker room, their fans start giving us a standing ovation and saying, great job. I'm used to having beer cans, tortillas thrown at us, all of this stuff. I have never in my life since then witnessed such great sportsmanship from a fan base. So that was one of the most enjoyable. The least favorite has to be Oklahoma State. There is anything Oklahoma is absolutely terrible. And if any of you guys are from Oklahoma, I apologize to y'all for living there because there's absolutely nothing there. You might be some good-hearted people. I don't know because I'll never go. But I could not stand Oklahoma State. The food was terrible. The sinks didn't work. I think they put us in like the worst place possible that they could put us in. The water was brown when you turned it on. I think at one point they turned on the fire alarm on. It was all types of crazy stuff that was happening that I had never experienced before. So, yeah, I don't like Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oklahoma State is wild just because the stands are so close to the sideline. I mean, it almost feel like a college basketball environment. The best place to play, no doubt, for me. I mean, it doesn't count as a home or away, but it's Texas OU. I mean, that's better than that. But that aside, worst place for me was Lubbock, man. Texas. I lost there in 2002. We were a damn good team. Cliff Kingsbury and Wes Welker showed out on us, dog. They went off. They went off.
Yeah.
It was like we were cursed down there, though, man. It was nighttime. We had injuries. I remember, I want to say Vasher got hurt. I want to say Derek Johnson went down in that game. My man Kalen Thornton went down in that game. We had like 3-4 starters that went down in that game. And that was Wes Welker. It might be one of his best games he ever had. And he went off, and they were throwing tortillas and all kind of stuff. It was a shootout. They couldn't stop our offense, and we couldn't stop them. And man, that still, so Lubbock to me is just it's a crazy stuff happens at nighttime in Lubbock. You said it, man. It's just wild. It's one of them places. So
Jerry, I need you to figure out why they throw tortillas. I know you're the historian of all things Texas and football. Please just give me some insight, bro, because you guys are wasting a lot of Mission Viejo tortillas, bro, throwing them on the field, and I don't understand this. As somebody that likes to eat, I feel like that's a waste of money.
Somebody in the chat will know that. Somebody in the chat will know. Hey, so I got to ask you this, Tony. Your son's a young hooper coming up, right? What AAU team is he playing with now?
He is a sniper, Jerry. It seems like every team in the North Dallas area keeps asking him to be on his team, and I don't have to pay any of the fees. So as long as they pick him up and take him, I don't care. But he's with my brother Cedric Thornton has who I played with. He has a team out here called the PTA Jaguars, so he plays with that team. There's another spinoff team that his coach from his middle school has, which I forget the name of it, but I mean, this dude is playing anywhere it's basketball, he's going. He just, we were supposed to do something yesterday, and he's like, "Nah, Dad, I can't." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "I got basketball practice." Bro, when did you have basketball practice? Y'all not even in season. Y'all not even in season. He's like, "Oh, no, this is for the other team. Remember that one team?" No, I don't. So he's just, wherever he wants to go play.
He's in the gym. He's living in the gym.
That's him, bro, all day.
I wanted to ask you this, because I've always said, like, when kids are like 10, 11, 12, and you guys went through this, Rod, Deion Sanders, FSU, that was you kind of identify with a player or team, right?
Yeah.
And your son's around that age. Who does he identify with? Do you know? Do you see it? Because it's amazing how that kind of shapes kids, and sometimes it carries over into recruiting, sometimes it doesn't.
Jerry, he doesn't have a team. He looks at players.
Yeah.
Right? So when I say he looks at players, I'm not just talking about current players. He'll tell me about, like, he looks at Gary Payton. He'll tell me about, like, he was talking about Tracy McGrady. So, like, he's somebody that actually, like, studies the game. Like, he can give you understanding on how people play. Like, I'll never forget, and I won't be too long on this, but I just thought it was phenomenal for his 13-year-old mind. So, like, I've been getting on him about, not falling in love with the whole 3-point shot, the Steph Curry play, right? Because he's a good penetrator to the basket. He go both ways. He got both hands. He has it all, right? I'm like, dude, I'm telling you now, watch Anthony Edwards look at the mid-range. And I've been preaching this for him for probably about 2 months. So he goes in the game and puts up 22 points. And 10 of his shots, he hit 8. He went 8 from 10 from mid-range. Right. And so what he was telling me was, he was like, "Dad, I'm seeing soft spots in the zone." Right. So when I'm telling guys to come cross court, I'm setting picks. I'm able to see that. I'm like, and I'm hearing him talk. I'm like, this dude is talking basketball, like real basketball. So I got to give a shout out to his coaches for that. But he's not a team guy, Jerry. He studies the game. He loves the game.
I like that. I got look at this. Right guy from New Mexico says Texas Tech fans throw tortillas onto the field at football games, a tradition that likely began in the late 1980s or early 1990s, with one theory suggesting it started after an announcer, ESPN announcer joked.
So it's not even rooted in anything.
Factory.
The joke was all they had was a tortilla factory
in Lubbock.
Oh, okay.
CJ, bro. That just goes to show you about traditions. Like, their tradition is not even rooted in anything, bro. So if you want to know why Texas Tech doesn't have success, is because they hold on to foolishness like this. This is ridiculous.
You see, every Texas Tech fan has the cactus emoji on their Twitter. You know where that started? That was their little beef back and forth with was it Brian Carrington at TCU, who said, "Look, why would you go live in a desert where all they got is cactus? You can come to Fort Worth, be a big star." Texas Tech fans took that to heart, said, no. We're going to embrace the cactus. We're going to embrace the desert. Now every single Tech fan that you encompass on Twitter, They got a cactus emoji. I've always had a rule: never respond to a cactus emoji having Twitter profile because it's going to make no sense. You're going to look like a fool doing so.
All right. Well, look, let us throw out something here on Coffee and Football this morning. Let's just say, you know what? Why go play at Texas Tech? Because the only thing they have there is dried scaled lizards. So now we're gonna get lizard emojis from Texas Tech fans. Let's see. Let's see. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm a guy of logic. That just makes no sense. I mean, Jesus.
I ain't trying to hate.
Well, now they have Brad Wesley. They have their own Roadhouse guy running the town with a lot of money, so that does help in recruiting.
They do got some bread though.
They got their own Brad Wesley now, so that's
they do got some straight cash on it. I always love the old saying: if you can't get your grades up, get your guns up. All right. Sorry, Tech fan. I don't even know how this became kind of a Tech diss session. Hey, Tios, I want to ask you this. Okay, so you played 10 years in the league, 10 some years in the league.
Yeah.
So you got a chance to block for a lot of different quarterbacks. And even at Texas, obviously, you blocked for different QBs. What's the difference and what do you prefer in blocking for a quarterback who's mobile as opposed to a quarterback that stands in the pocket? Because Quinn was a pocket passing quarterback. Arch can move. It has mobility. Do you prefer blocking for that guy or the guy where you know he's going to be pass blocking?
There's advantages in both. When you're blocking for a mobile quarterback, it keeps the pass rush a little bit more honest. The pass rusher can't get into his bag as much because, even if I, don't do a great job, but the quarterback has the ability to escape, that's a big run, right? So that you have to rush, you defensive guys call it rush lane integrity, right? Yeah. But for offensive lineman, if I know you have to have rush leg integrity, that means I can pretty much set however I want to the entire game. And you're pretty much, not going to be able to do too much about it. And even if your counter moves, right? So if I set a little bit too hard outside and you counter inside, but you're supposed to have outside containment, well, if I just wash you down enough and he's able to escape, now we got a whole sideline that we can run on, which you saw that in the with the Vince Young pump fake at Oklahoma State. That's exactly what happened, right? But when you're blocking for guys that where it's 5-step drop, well, they don't do 5-step drops anymore, but back in the day, 5-step drops, 7-step drops, 3-step drops, or whatever, and the ball is out, then it allows you to get to spots. Right. I'm not necessarily rushing. I'm not necessarily pass setting towards the man. I'm pass setting toward a spot because that's where I expect my quarterback to be. So I'm going to take the fight to this particular spot to give him time to do what he needs to do. So there's advantages of both. If you're talking to me, I'm somebody that likes the spot play. Right. I want to know where my quarterback's going to be because, again, I'm always thinking about the game. So I'll give you an example, Jerry. Hold on to your horses. This is going to get wild. Right. So if we have two high safeties, and Rod, you know this, if we have two high safeties as an offensive lineman, if I'm looking at 3 technique and a 5 technique and I'm looking at a tight shade, I can expect some sort of game on my side, right? So now that means that I got to set vertical with a handout to be able to have the guard pass me off this 3 technique while giving space for the guard to recover and get the end that's coming back inside. But if I see single high safety, 1 safety up top, now I know I can get all types of linebacker games, cornerback blitzes, any of those type of things. So it keeps me honest in the way that I have to set, right? So now if I can get to my spot, I don't really give a damn what you do. I've already beat you to the spot that I need to beat you to, so we can take the fight right there. So I love playing the game like that. Like if we have a high blitz team, right, and they only blitz, or dog on the other side of the 50. So now I'm playing a certain honest game, but now when I get to the other side of the 50, I'm locked in and I'm looking for things, right? So that's the nuances of film study. And understanding the game, just not from a standpoint of what the play is and who I'm supposed to block, but understanding the tendencies of the defense, right? And so I like those type of guys. So one of the favorite quarterbacks that I've blocked for, and to me, one of the greatest of all time, was Drew Brees, who I just seen last week. It was good to hug up on him and see how him and Brittany and the kids were doing. But those are the type of quarterbacks I like. But I'm traditional too, so we got to keep that in mind. I'm a traditional lineman.
Man, and a damn good one and a great football mind too, man. I just learned a lot of football here in the last 15, 20 minutes. So I appreciate you, Tony, man. Thank you for coming on. I know we took up a little too much of your time, but it was too much fun. So sorry to let you go, but have a great rest of the week, brother.
Absolutely. And in the words of Luther Vandross, man, it's never too much. Y'all guys have a good one.
Thanks, Tony. All right, that's totally that was fun. I get to catch him every now and then, but now I got to make sure that's appointment viewing hump day with Heels, because that's fantastic. All right, Jerry, before we continue, and we'll get to some of your questions here. Thank you guys for throwing the questions. Let's thank one of our sponsors this morning, our friends over at Pesty.
Yeah, since we were talking about Lubbock and Texas Tech, we followed up with bugs, ants, and insects. Let's get rid of them. Tired of dealing with bugs, ants, insects, and any kind around the house? Nobody likes it, but using a professional service can often be more expensive than you want. That's why there's Pesty, an affordable, pet-friendly self-service solution. Our other pest control companies charge over $800 per year. But with Pesty, you can get started for just $35 per treatment with a customized plan based on your location, bugs, and climate. Pesty is easy to use. Everything you need comes in one simple package. The kit includes a sprayer, mixing bag, gloves, with instructions you can complete in a short period of time. Pesty gets rid of over 100 types of bugs, from spiders to ants to roaches and even scorpions. Haven't seen one of those in a while. Pesty is kid and pet friendly. These pesticides they ship are fully registered and have been used in hospitals and schools all over the country. Pesty offers a 100% bug-free guarantee or your money back. If the bugs don't go away, they'll give you a free refund. Nobody likes being bugged, especially by, bugs. And when they do show up, you want them gone fast. With Pesty's Do-It-All Pest Control, you can protect your home easily and at a quarter of the cost. Protect your home from bugs or Texas Tech fans with Pesty. Go to pesty.com/OTF for an extra 10% off your order. That's pesty.com/OTF for an extra 10% off.
All right. Thank you very much, Jerry. And thank you to Pesty as well for sponsoring Coffee and Football. Let's get back to the questions. Actually, Jack had another super chat. Thank you, Jack, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Here's the question. Given the talented incoming freshman, can you see Sark using the Wildcat package in the red zone? And if so, who would it be? Yeah, the Wildcat, one of those things that also disappeared from the offense last season. They either didn't have a need for it or didn't have a player that he believed he could weaponize in that manner. What do you guys think? Is the Wildcat coming back this season? And if it does come back, who would be the featured player for the Wildcat?
I'm going to stand by what I've been saying. If the Wildcat comes back, things haven't gone A, B, and C haven't gone according to plan. I mean, I don't see Texas wanting to take Arch Manning off the field because he's got mobility at quarterback. And I think you're only going to see Wildcat. Maybe it's a certain situational thing, but I think it's if A, B, and C haven't gone well, and you're feeling like, okay, we got to go to this, because that's ideally not what Sark wants to do.
Yeah,
not recruited to Texas.
I'm in the same boat again, and for short yardages, by now, the hope is by year 5 you're able to pick up a yard or two if you need so on 3rd or 4th down with the offensive line. So. And we've also theorized that the strength of this offensive line, specifically on the interior, is in those short yardages to be able to move bodies backward a little bit, because it all kind of fits their true skill set in the run game. You got DJ Campbell, Cole Hudson now at center, a bigger body, NATO pushing about 327 at left guard. These are all bigger bodies, all with a little bit more tenaciousness and feistiness, I will say, in the run game than what Texas had last year. So if Texas has to go to a Wildcat, to your point, Jerry, I'm not sure if the season or the offensive line is where you necessarily want it to be.
Yeah, but I'm not opposed to it, Jack, in the red zone or on the goal line if Texas can't figure out better solutions and be more effective in those situations. Because they have not figured out red zone post Bijan and Rojo, and they've really never been a great goal line short yardage team. Even going back to this season, guys, they're on third and short and 4th and short running ending arounds. Not that it wasn't great, and I loved it, but they're doing the between the legs snaps and trying to, which is great, winning with creativity, but that's because they can't line up and just push people back and reset the line of scrimmage. So I'm not opposed to being creative to try to win it. That's how they were converting short yardage this year, guys, was creativity.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, we were talking about it earlier. Who would replace Jaden Blue? And you talked about wheel routes. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Sark does this year. I think you're going to see some creativity out of him. Could it be a Michael Terry, who's played the position before at running back in high school, even though he's playing wide receiver now? Are you going to see something a little more creative? It doesn't always have to be a running back. Somebody could line up as a running back, especially if they're a bigger athletic guy who can go run under the football, make a 50-50 play on the football. Sark's got a roster where he can get creative this year in the passing game from the running back position. It doesn't just have to be running back, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sark has said before running back is the most underutilized weapon in the passing game. His offenses have honestly shown that that he uses his running backs a lot. This past season, though, I'm with you, Jerry. Jaden Blue was it almost has throwbacks to how he used Bijan in the passing game. Now, with Bijan, sometimes he would go empty formation, put Bijan in the slot, and let Bijan just run seam routes and stuff down the field. It was fantastic. But I think, honestly, with Jaden Blue, it was interesting because I went and looked at all the explosive plays, right? Put them into categories, different buckets. In terms of there was, I put basically double moves, and I made a category just for running backs, right? The screen passes to running backs, that Texas route, that wheel route, all the explosive plays that were in the running back. It was among your most explosive categories, just in the ways that he found ways to scheme those guys open, because Jaden Blue was a natural scheme advantage. He was a built-in advantage. No linebacker could cover Jaden Blue down the field. So yeah, I'm with. And then it'll be interesting to see what he does with that group. And I think a lot of that could be in your pony packages too, where you're trying to weaponize different running backs, especially in the passing game. That 31 package that he used before with Keelan Robinson, he could get really creative with some of those guys. So be looking forward to it. I like more personnel groupings. I think Sark's at his best when he has a lot of different personnel groupings to work with. And last year he didn't work with that many. He just kind of kept to his 11 and 12 personnel. All right. Thank you for that. We got another super chat here from Clint. Clint says, I may have missed times y'all talked about him, but what has the word been on Hero Canoe?
Yeah, I've heard he's done well. Nothing beyond that. Just kind of he's doing well. He's mixed in well. Going to be in the rotation for sure. And he's going to be more of that disruptor 3 versus an over the ball player. That's what I've heard. Anything specific yet as to where he's at, I haven't heard yet. But I've heard he's performed well. CJ, I don't know if you've heard anything else.
Yeah, that basically goes to it. Sark spoke about him coming along and very similarly to that, just learning day by day with the new system, what Kenny Baker's asking of him to do. He said that yesterday during his media availability. Also worth mentioning that Travis Shaw is being limited right now by the Texas staff. There's a lingering knee issue, according to Sarkisian yesterday, that has kind of kept him sidelined a little bit. Again, he's out on the field, he's practicing, but some of these live situations, Texas erring on the side of caution here, similarly to how they're handling Christian Clark and his recovery from an Achilles as well. So that should provide a little bit more looks on the interior for some over-the-ball guys, some of those young guys. You look at Josiah Sharma and what he could be asked to do this ring. It all kind of comes down to getting these young guys truly acclimated with this system.
All right. Thank you for the super chat, Clint. We appreciate it. Let's thank another sponsor before we move on. Our friends over at Bluebird Organizing. If your life is feeling, somewhat, somewhat junky or overwhelmed right now, maybe your wife actually is feeling a bit overwhelmed. You got Mother's Day right around the corner. Does she consistently mention how she wishes she could find items more easily, or she wants to park her car in the garage, but there's no space? Or maybe she complains about tripping over all the kids' toys, or you or your husband feeling at a complete loss at times. Do you need a little bit of help with spring cleaning well on its way and Mother's Day just around the corner? Give your wife the gift of a lifetime with a customized organized session from Bluebird Organizing. Perry, owner of Bluebird Organizing, will come into your space without judgment and give your wife the organized kitchen, closet, playroom, and or garage of her dreams. Plus, Perry will take all of the donations, the stuff that you don't want. She'll take that for you at the end and get rid of it for you, leaving you and your family ready to enjoy the new space, more space created by Bluebird Organizing. It's time to give your wife a gift she'll love for years to come. Call or text her 737-346-7779, 737-346-7779 to book your free in-person consultation today from Bluebird Organizing. As a matter of fact, I had Perry come out to look at our garage because we want to get both the cars in there, and also come look at the office where I do all the videos and where I record here for On Texas Football, so she could help organize this space a little bit better too. So trust me, we all could use a little bit of organization in our lives. So if you do with any aspect of your life, reach out to Bluebird Organizing, bluebirdorganizing.net, and reach out at 737-346-7779. So still in the process, talking with Perry about getting our space organized with her help. So I'll let you guys know how it goes. But our first free in-person consultation was fantastic. So had a great plan for the garage, great plan for this office. So I encourage you guys to reach out to Bluebird Organizing as well. All right, let's get back. We'll get back to your questions. I promise you guys that. But I want to talk about a little bit of recruiting, because I know it's a big recruiting weekend coming up. I want to give you guys the floor. What some of the recruiting nuggets? I heard John here wants to know. He heard Felix Ojo canceled his visit to Notre Dame. I know that's been a big topic of conversation as well. But specifically with Texas, what has been some of the big headlines coming from the recruiting world?
Jerry, go ahead and unmute. You're pulling your best Blake today.
Oh, dang it, Blake.
The Blake one.
I should be put in a corner for 5 minutes for that. All right, so yeah, he canceled Notre Dame, but he's going to Ohio State this weekend, right? In this recruiting, that's one of the official visits he has. But look, I think this recruitment will play out a little while, right? So he canceled Notre Dame. He's going to Ohio State. John Turntime will be on campus Friday, Saturday. So that's 2 weekends in a row. Texas has got the 2 top offensive tackles in the state for visits, and it's more of those individual visits where they spend a lot of time with the families and the prospect. There's a number of other guys coming in this weekend, 3 really good out-of-state defensive linemen, one James Johnson from Miami Northwestern, who used to be at North Fort Myers, hometown of DJ Sanders, Rod. Deion Sanders, Rod. James Johnson's a long shot for Texas. Damari Simeon's one I'm keeping my eye on from New Jersey. I think Texas could seriously get in the mix there with Ohio State, Tennessee, Penn State, Auburn. And then Corey Wells, the big over-the-ball player from Petal, Mississippi, will be in town. Good chance Jabari Mack will be in town. KJ Edwards obviously will be in town, the running back from Carthage, and a number of other guys. Some of the big, not talked about enough, but big visit for me is Samari Matthews, the corner out of Huff High, north of Charlotte and Cornelius. And I say that because that's a kid who really likes Texas, and that was Mark Orfe's first offer when he got to Texas. And he immediately set up an official visit for June 13th through 15th. And now he's coming in with his family this weekend. And I'm not saying it's going to go the way of Jamie French, but I do think there's some similarities. I think his family is going to walk away very impressed with Texas. The battle there is Clemson, South Carolina. I think Florida State's the 4th team in the midst, but I think Texas is really going to be battling the close to homes, Clemson and South Carolina. He has a really good relationship with the South Carolina staff. I think they were on him earlier than anybody. But getting him, Samari Matthews, the 4-star corner out of North Carolina, on campus this weekend, then the official visit. When Texas gets multiple visits, they have more than the puncher's chance at kids that really like Texas.
Okay.
And if he likes Texas before the visit, CJ, he's going to like them more after the visit, because these visits don't disappoint.
No, they never do.
All right. There you go. Also, we just saw this tweet from CDC, and apparently CDC and some of the coaches they're in Washington. They're in Washington, D.C.
And DeAndre Moore.
What is the reason? What's going on? Did I miss? What did I miss?
I don't know. I don't know. We just saw the tweet. Somebody may have got that out of him.
Wow.
May have seen something else on that, but I don't know. But we saw that they're in DC. Sark, Jared Elliott was in there. The university interim president was in there. DeAndre Moore was DeAndre Moore, right? CJ.
Yep.
Yeah. What is he doing there?
I'm guessing it has to do something with the house settlement and everything going on.
Okay, that's pretty cool though. I didn't. Yeah,
I could be wrong on that.
Because isn't that? Yeah, I mean, I know I've been following it somewhat too, and I know there've been updates on it, but yeah, I didn't realize that why Texas would be in Washington D.C. That's interesting. That's cool. It's a great photo, actually.
Yeah.
But, all right, there you go. So we'll get some information and hopefully try to learn more about that. I think that's pretty awesome. And we did see. Oh, you know what? I got a random. I don't know. I got a random question. Because maybe you guys know, I wish Bobby was here because Bobby's old school. Could ask Bobby. When was the last head coach to have a child during their tenure as the head football coach at Texas, or has it ever happened?
Man, that's a good question.
It's got to be pre-DKR, guys. It's got to be pre-DKR.
Man,
if it ever happened. No, I'm serious. There's no way it's happening.
That's a good point because most coaches are in their 50s when they get out.
You get the job in your 40s and 50s. Listen. I'm a 45-year-old man with a 17-month-old. So
right.
I get it, having kids late. And so nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't usually happen. Usually by this time on your coaching track, you've already, had your kids. So I don't know if it's ever happened. I wish the late great Bill Little was here. We could ask Bill Little. He probably would know. I don't know if anybody else would know. I don't know if there's any. I got to find me an old school Longhorn who might know, because like I said, we just got to be pre-DKR stuff.
Yeah,
I think DKR had his before he was the head coach at Texas too.
Yeah, I was thinking on the basketball side, Rick Barnes, no, Tom Penders, no, Shaka, no.
It's just rare. You know what I mean? You don't young and do, you know what I mean? So I'm not, it's not, trust me, I'm not criticizing anything. It's just an observation. I was curious and I was like, what was the last coach a Texas football coach at Texas, head football coach that had a child while I'm talking about a head football coach at Texas. I know there are other sports, but usually it's tough in coaching period at this point in your coaching career. But I don't know if it's ever happened, guys. Yeah. I don't know if it's ever happened. I don't know if it's ever. I don't know if it's ever. Maybe
I think you're right.
You got to be maybe like I said, you got to go like DKR, pre-DKR or something. But I don't know if it's ever happened. Someone says, Ashley says joy mode. No, it's good for him. No, it's
absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Mayas, great name too. I love the name Mayas and all that. Even though Sargent picked the name, it had nothing to do with that. But just somebody. It's a great trivia question. Craig Way. I had to text Craig Way and ask Craig Way if somebody knows. Anyway. All right, there you go. Enough of that conversation. Let's get back to the questions here. Zach with a super chat. Zach says, Jerry, can we get a high if a Big 12 conference player is the possible portal wide receiver? If you can't answer, what type of wide receiver are we looking for in the portal?
So not that I've heard on that one. I would say what Texas is looking for is an NFL football player, top 3 round level guy, somebody that can come in and is a difference maker. I don't think Texas is looking for a rotational piece here. I think they have really good rotational pieces in the circle of trust. I mean, Jamie French is going to be a really good player, right? Parker Livingstone has worked his way into the circle of trust. Dalen McCutcheon's having a good spring. Obviously, he's more in that DeAndre Moore role, but he's getting into it faster with DeAndre Moore being out. It's going to be somebody that's a difference maker. It's going to be somebody who can put touchdowns on the board. So just looking for a top 3 round NFL draft pick, CJ and Rod. That's what they're after right now. They have really good players at the position.
Yeah. And Sark brought up the positions that they will be looking at in the portal. He did say they're not going to bring on a body for purposes of having for a numbers purpose. They want an impact player, but he did bring up wide receiver, tight end, and defensive tackle.
Hey, I want to bring something up here. Salty Q has an interesting one. What's y'all's take on the controversy about reporters cheering for the team they cover? I actually haven't seen it, and maybe I'm living under a rock. I don't know if you guys have seen it. But I've always said this about it. I don't care if Kirk Herbstreit cheers on Ohio State. I don't care if Charles Barkley cheers on Auburn. I mean, it just doesn't bother me, man. It doesn't. I don't think it makes them unprofessional. I think people are able to do their job and talk. If it's Charles Barkley, talk about the game of basketball in a way that's great for fans. He brings comedy to it, but then also supports his team. And cheers the win and takes the loss hard. That's okay. I mean, I want people to be genuine. I don't think it takes away from somebody's ability to accurately talk about the game if that's their profession, or cover a team. Look, I mean, we cover Texas here, but I'm here to tell you, y'all know this about me. I don't care where a player goes to college. If I think the guy's really good, I'm going to tell you he's really good. So it's like, doesn't matter. Like it's, do we all want to see Texas win? Well, hell yeah, we want to see Texas win. But the reality of that is too, though, if we think somebody has a better quarterback, we think somebody has a better team, or, you know, you can still be honest. You can be honest and do your job and still also be have enough experience and understanding to be happy when the team you cover wins. I just don't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, I don't either. And having spent, you know, the last year in the press box at all these games, you know, it's a different atmosphere, right? It is supposed to be a professional. I almost call it like a library, right? You're supposed to go in there. You're supposed to be quiet. You're supposed to do your job. You know, really only hear the clicks on a keyboard from basically 100 different keyboards across the room, but it makes no difference to me. And I do think that, you know, conversation in the press box is good, you know, for the game. You know, if you see, you know, like the strip sack against the Ewers versus Ohio State, you know, to hear the ultimate reactions of folks in that room, I think it helps express what you felt in the story. You know, you're supposed to tell the story of a game. How do you do that if you're supposed to sit there, you know, completely silent, right? I think expressing it and kind of conversing about what you just saw helps. And so I have no real issue with the video that is going viral. I know maybe that's just the youth in me.
What is it, CJ? I haven't even seen it, honestly.
A Florida student reporter put her phone up like on her laptop screen and was recording her reaction to the final possession, in which obviously Houston didn't get a shot up, and I lost my plus 1,600 bet. So my reaction probably would have been the complete opposite if I was there, point being. But she stands up and kind of does a little like a little giddy dance, right? Like, oh my goodness. And I didn't think it was outward. I didn't think it was more than anything of a, oh my God, the team I covered for the last 4 months just won a national championship. I'm a student at Florida. I'm excited, right? I didn't think it was anything more than that. You know, it was one thing if, you know, shirts are waving, you got beer flying. It wasn't that. And I think there needs to be personality. If you're going to be someone that tells stories, if you're going to be someone that portrays what you just saw in person to someone who wasn't there. So I don't hate it. I didn't mind it. I thought it was one thing that, again, you can go overboard, but in this video, in this instant, you know, particularly, I didn't think a line was crossed or anything like that.
I mean, my thing is, and this is look, and I get what the other side of it in the chat and fans, what they say, but, you know, Rod, think about it. If you were calling a game, okay, and you played at that school, and that team happened to win a Final Four game, or lose a Final Four game, or win a national championship in football, or lose in a semifinal, I think if you're just stoic and you're like, I actually think that's a negative, man. I like to see the raw emotion of it. You know what? If Ohio State wins and Kirk Herbstreit sheds a tear or something, because he played there and he feels it, I'm good with that stuff, man. Charles Barkley took the Auburn loss stuff. I'm good with it, man. I'd rather be that than some not genuine, fake bull crap. I mean, that's what we have with Tom Herman as a football coach. You want people to be genuine.
Yeah. No,
we'll deal with the rest.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think there's something to be said for authenticity these days. Like, people want to know who they're rooting for and who they're listening to. So as long as you're not a homer, I'm fine with it. Just don't be a homer with it. I'm fine with showing your allegiance, and, you know, if you're a Longhorn, proudly displaying that. I try, I'm a Longhorn. Everybody knows that. I try not to be a homer with it. because if I'm talking about another team, we're talking about college football overall, to put Texas in, their place in college football in true perspective without being a homer about it. And that also means when I'm talking about A&M and Oklahoma, if I'm talking about their football program, I try not to be too much of a homer and just be, totally, demeaning and belittling their program when actually talking about the ball aspect of it.
Right.
Actually talking about analyzing the college football program. It's one thing when you're joking, but we're talking about if you're actually an analyst and people are coming to you for your analysis of college football and what you think of it, then I think you have a responsibility not to let your homerism, all right, cloud your opinion and to let that kind of infiltrate your opinion, to give them a real analysis of it. So I try to do that. I get it, but we live in an influence. Journalism has been now infiltrated by influencer, like culture. Yeah. Like if you're a journalist now, you have to be an influencer too. And once you've been everybody wants you to be an influencer on top of being a journalist, whether it be sports journalism or whatever. And people have a hard time trying to separate those. I'm an influencer. That means you want to know everything about me. You want to know what I eat. You want to know where I'm going. You want to know what I'm drinking. And I'm tweeting throughout the game and all this kind of stuff too. And then also, hey, give me your take about this topic, and can you do it from an objective viewpoint? So it's tough crossing those lines these days. Either way. All right, CJ, before we get back to a couple of questions, can you tell the folks out there about Timeline?
Yeah, absolutely. I know Blake's not here today, but I've been talking with Blake about his workouts and why, he swears by MitoPure, and you can get 10% off at on MitoPure here by going to timeline.com/ontexas. Look, Blake swears by this product, right? He uses it daily and he tells us all when he notices a tremendous difference in his energy levels, his strengths, and whenever he's going to work out. Look, as someone who's getting back in the gym and summer's around the corner, I might be a little late to this. MitoPure can help, because it supports your health at the foundation by encouraging cellular renewal. And it's shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. That's great. As someone that sits around and types all day, the little exercise that I get, I want it to increase what I see in the mirror. So absolutely, I'm all for it. Cellular health is the foundation of well-being and longevity. MitoPure recharges your cells, supporting any goals by helping all of your systems work better. Awaken the strength, the power, and resilience already in you with the first and only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. Timeline is offering 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/ontexas. That's TIMELINE.com/ontexas for 10% off MitoPure.
All right. Thank you very much, CJ. We appreciate that. Real quick, Splenda Daddy, formerly Sugar Daddy, says, any more Tom Herman stories? Thank you for the super chat. Any more Tom Herman stories? Yeah, I heard a great Tom Herman story the other day, but I can't tell it on there. But it was really good. It really was. I guess it was really good, but I can't tell that. Any Tom Herman stories that we can talk about on air is what Splenda Daddy wants to know.
I mean, the one that has always stuck with me was when he went to one of the power high schools in the state of Texas, and they hand out their prospect sheets, and the coach handed the prospect sheet, and Tom Herman didn't even look at it. He just kind of set it to the corner of the desk. They had their conversation. He got up and left and didn't even take it with him. He didn't sign a player from that school. That is bad, dumb in recruiting, man. At one of the state's power programs. That was a recruiting sin right there.
Yeah, no good.
Where do you think Tom Herman's going to pop up next in the coaching world?
I mean, if I was him, he's made a lot of money. Stay in Boca, man. Hit the beach. Go ride the bike, dude. Like, just hang out, man. You've done well.
So no more coaching for Tom?
I don't know. Those guys never leave it, right? They can try to sit out or whatever. But if it's me, man, how much has he made? $20 million?
Oh, easy.
Why leave Boca? Why leave South Florida? Hang out, man. The water's really blue. You're a 45-minute flight.
He's got the itch. He wants to get back out there, Jerry. He wants to see
go coach Boca High then, man. But dude, you're in a good spot. Go do life, man.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, he loves it though. I think he wants to coach. I think he'll end up somebody's coordinator. I think he'll end up as an offensive coordinator at one point. Somebody will reach out to him. He was a good offensive coordinator.
I hope they got a fullback at quarterback.
Yeah. There's some offenses that Tough Herbert might be really good at. Maybe he can go one of those, military academies. All right, let's get to some. Before we get out of here, I know we're approaching the end of the show. You guys had a note about Zena, and a report on the website about Zena. Can you guys go into some detail about that report from yesterday?
Bobby Burton reported that Zena had a brief little procedure done on the thumb on his hand. So he missed a few practices. He got a little dinged up, was out of spring football for a little bit. Fortunately, was back on the practice field yesterday, going through workouts with the Texas team during spring practice number 7. So that's a great sign. Of course, Texas already dealing with an injury to Colton Vasek, already dealing with, the movement of Trey Moore around that front 7. So we talk about how stout that edge room is expected to be. Right now, if you lose another Zena, it was getting pretty thin, but right now injury to the Zena doesn't appear to be very serious. He's back on the field, supporting a little cast as well. So all in all, good sign right there, and he's recovering well. He missed about a week and a half or so nothing too crazy there, able to get back on the field and clean something up with his hand and thumb. So all in all, good to see Zena back on the field, because I've heard Jerry, he's been making some positive steps forward. And I don't want to say he looks the most physically impressive of anybody at the edge position, but he's certainly in that conversation.
Yeah, no, we had heard he had a really good redshirt year. One of those guys we'd heard, Nate Kibble, Zena, Santana Wilson were some of those guys that had really good redshirt years. And we heard even more about Zena in a winter workout. So he was a guy that I think the staff really, really likes. And for these guys, man, it's all about staying healthy so they can continue to develop. He had luckily a small setback and not a big setback. And it's a very important spring for him to get those reps with Colton Vasek out, even because Colton Vasek would eaten up a lot of reps for everybody. So it's really it's an opportunity for these guys to get a lot of meaningful reps headed into August. Because the freshmen behind them, they're coming on too. So you got to make the most of your reps.
All right. I know we're getting close to the end here. I want to hit a couple of questions, though, first. David Keith Williams says, Mayo Hamilton, this may be the most difficult question I've ever asked you. What is your percentage chance Texas gets both KJ Edwards and Xavier Crowell at running back, and John Turntine and Felix Ojo at offensive tackle?
A 4-leg parlay here, Jerry. What's the odds?
Well, look, with Crowell, I mean, you're really, really, really going to have to earn it. I mean, Alabama's going to be tough. That is like Gillespie, there's your job. Go do it, right, for Alabama. Tremendous back-end state there. Auburn, he was at Auburn last weekend. I'm sure he'll be at Alabama this weekend for their A-Day. Obviously, he'll be back on campus for the June official visits. That's a lot of competition. I think Texas is probably the leader for KJ Edwards. I think Texas is a leader for Ojo, and I think they're at least 50-50 for Turntine. Can you get both those guys? We'll have to see. I've said all along, it's not I like some of these guys a little more than others, but I think all these guys, all these tackles, you throw in Roseboro, Cody Green, it wouldn't shock me if Cody Green went better than all of them one day. It just wouldn't shock me. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But my whole thing, the way I've looked at it is take those 4 tackles right there. And Sam Utu's a swing guy from Orange Lutheran. Really, really, really good too, by the way. And Texas arguably could be leading for him right now. Just get 2 of them. And look, I'm not sitting here being greedy. If you got 4 really good prospects, and I think they're all top 75 level prospects in the country as offensive tackle prospects, just get 2 of those guys, man. Is where the chips fall is going to be hard to control in the NIL era. See what happens with the house settlement, right? There's some factors in play here. But my whole thing for Texas in this recruiting class, just get 2 of those guys. And if you get 2 of those guys, you've got 2 really, really good tackle prospects in this class. And we're already seeing, by the way, I know people fall in love with the highest ranked guy. There was a couple of people that had Nick Brooks as a 3-star, just like they had Cam Williams as a 3-star, and they're going to be just as wrong from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Does Cam Williams ever look like a 3-star to anybody?
Mm-mm.
I saw Nick Brooks in person at Grayson High. And when I left, my son was with me on the trip. I said, look up his rankings in the industry. And 2 people had him as a 3-star. And I just shook my head. I'm just like, what? I mean, get out and see players, man. Nick Brooks will do the same thing Cam Williams did. So just remember that with the rankings. But I think Texas, because Roseboro is probably the lowest ranked guy nationally of that group. But he's really talented too. So I just get 2 of those guys if you're Texas. Let the chips fall where they may. If you get 2 of those 4 guys at tackle, you've had a really, really good class.
Yeah. No, Nick Brooks, there was buzz about Nick Brooks at Pro Day too. And I was talking to some folks that they were like, no, got to watch out for this young buck. He's way ahead of schedule. Some people had Trey Weister as a 3-star as well. Thank you for that, Corey J. All right, let's hit our friends. Thank our friends over at Good Arb before we get ready to end today's program. Would you tell the folks, Jerry, about our friends at goodr.com?
Yes, absolutely. Gooder. I don't have my shades on, but they are the best shades going. Why Gooder, you ask? Well, you see them all over DKR. The Texas Beach Volleyball team wears them. You see them everywhere. So you have the Texas Gooders, but then you have Gooders that start at $25 a pair as well. 1-year warranty, don't need it. I just have to say it, 30-day free returns. You don't need that either. They're lightweight, they're comfortable, are 100% polarized, no slip, no bounce, vibrant colors to sleek styles. There's a pair of Gooders for every personality. If you're John Shire, need to hide from the Duke fans for a while and not get laughed at in Chapel Hill, you put your Gooders on. It'll work for a while. That choke job designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and more. Hide. When do you wear your Gooders, Sonnies, is the question. On a run? Playing pickleball with the Burtons? On a hike? Going to the beach? I don't know, CJ, baseball games, whatever. Rod, with your helmet on if you want, because they're so affordable, you don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair for every single occasion. If you lose one in the ocean, it's not $400 to replace your sunglasses, $25, and they're really comfortable. If you need a new pair of Sonnies, Gooder is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/OnTexas and use that code OnTexas for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Add a 0 to that. Again, that's gooder.com/OnTexas.
Thank you, Jerry. We appreciate that, and we appreciate Gooder for being a sponsor here. Last subject before we get out of here. I thought it was interesting when Stark talked about the DBs, about Gilbo at cornerback. I'm starting to feel like Gilbo is going to be at cornerback. Starting to feel that way. I know he said Kobe Black looked good, and I know they got Wardell Mack working nickel. They got Ryan Niblett working nickel. Jelani McDonald could play there too. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like that maybe, and it's a lot of different factors that are going to influence the decision. You got Coach Akina there now, so you got new coaches in the secondary. They're cross-training guys, and also they're playing a lot of young guys here in spring, experimenting with some things. I don't know, right now, gut feeling, starting to feel like Gilbo at cornerback for them, which means they're figuring out nickel in this spring.
Rob, what would be your question about Gilbo at corner? Because I know this time last year the question was, Jahdae Barron have enough straight line speed? Can he hang up with an Isaiah Bond or an Xavier Worthy if he were to go face those guys in one-on-ones, right? In Texas, again, they don't play a lot of man coverage, but at times when you have all those blitzing options, you're going to bring more guys and are going to leave you available space to play zone. So that was the question for me with Jahdae, and obviously he shut me all up. He said, hey, 4.39, I'm fast. What would your question or what would your unknown about Gilbo on the outside be?
Eyes.
Jahdae
Barron had great eyes, great eye discipline, and I wonder about Gilbo's eye discipline. Got him in trouble a little bit at nickel a couple of times, actually. Coach Akina will help that. Coach Akina emphasizes eyes, feet go where your eyes go. But for him, it's eyes. I think he does have the speed to play. If you can play nickel, to me, you can play corner. That's just how I feel. I think nickel's tougher to play than corner, or the star position is tougher to play than corner. So if you can play star, I think you can play corner. And I think Texas believes that as well, which is why they kind of keep cross-training and making that transition. So that's something I'm starting to feel early on. It's just a feeling, but we'll see where that takes me. Let's thank our friend Adam Lowy and his team. We'd like to thank Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm for their sponsorship of ON Texas football. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, from an 18-wheeler to an ATV, and think you might be due compensation, then reach out to Adam Lowy at the LowyLawFirm.com. Adam and his group will give you a free, no strings attached consultation. Again, that's LowyLawFirm.com. And we appreciate Adam Lowy and his team for being a part of our team here at ON Texas football. And also want to thank all you guys out there for watching Coffee and Football. Thanks to Bobby for letting me sit in. Appreciate him as well. Thank you as well to CJ and Jerry for all the nuggets and the expertise. Really appreciate them. Thanks to Tony Hills. Tony Hills always does a great job. Hump Day with Hills is fantastic. Must watch. Appointment viewing. No question about that. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Adam Lowy at the Lowy Law Firm, Gooder as well, Pesty, Timeline, and Bluebird Organizing, bluebirdorganizing.net. Later on today, we'll have our Wednesday live stream. It'll be myself. I think Jeff might be on there. I think CJ, are you on there? I never know who's on anything. I'll be there. I think CJ's going to be there. Either way, you should be there. Make sure you join us. Thank you guys. Thanks to CJ and for Jerry and for Tony Hills. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.